Western Conference Podcast. Me and my brother Westafa are back in the building with a special guest. We got my brother JP of The Green in the building. How we doing, my brother?
What's up? Great, beautiful. Thank you for having me.
It's good for you to be here because I know you guys are on the road right now.
Yeah.
I know the shows are getting back in full swing right now, but we wanted to sit down with you to kind of just see what we got going on. Right, Wes?
Yeah, man. It's a pleasure to have our brother JP in the building with us.
Stoked, man. Proud of you guys.
See, we're trying to do it because we're trying to do it for the culture, JP.
Yes, sir. I hear you.
As we do it with the culture, we want to make sure that we get everybody's story because they want to know the humble beginnings of The Green. They want to know how The Green came about. So without further ado, we want to know, how did JP and The Green have this whole thing musically start?
So the family plays a lot of music, just kind of like, you know, after the dinners or the barbecues and stuff like that. And so a lot of the aunties and uncles is just jam, and that's kind of, you know, come over here. So,
yeah.
And you just, you know, get into it like a lot of our families, you know. And so, but my Uncle Danny played in a band called
Shout out Uncle
Legend.
Danny.
Legend Uncle Danny.
That's my dad's brother, and that's actually Caleb's mom's brother too. So Caleb and I are first cousins from The Green, and that's our uncle. He got us into, you know, the business side of music, but we were kind of jamming with the family from.
Because you guys were already playing the music anyway.
Kind of jamming with the
Uncle
family.
Danny came with the business side of it.
Yeah, we started saying like, wait, what is this? You know, rehearsing. I was like, oh, you know, we start going to the shows. Like, you know, when you're in intermediate school, it's just like, whoa, like that concert world is a whole. This is
especially
when that
you
love
being
starts.
a youngster.
Yeah, so we're just like seeing our uncle do it. It was like, and then he recorded our first album when I was a senior in high school. Caleb was like 8th grade.
Shout out Next
Generation. So he kind of broke it in. Not only did he show us, he kind of like gave us a little start in the business, like of our own start, you know. And so that was 2003.
Yeah.
And then Caleb's brother Micah was the third part of Next Generation. It was me, Caleb, and Micah. We're all first cousins. Micah,
so was the name Next Generation because you guys were pretty much the next generation?
It was kind of Uncle Dan's vision of what he saw it, and so we had a couple songs on their recent album, and then we did this album of ours, which was just a cool experience, you know, being in high school and having a song on the radio, and like I didn't realize at the time, but it was just like kind of the real beginning of a long music journey, you know.
Wait, I have a question. So was I've seen the video and Justin is in there, right?
Yeah.
So was he part of the group?
Thanks for. Can we not talk about that? I should have brought that up. I should have said that earlier. No. You know, you gotta live with what you do, and it's like looking back. You know, when you look back on your high school pictures or your elementary school pictures, you're like, oh my god, but it is what it is, you know. And Uncle Dan is close with Justin and his family from church and some other stuff, and so he kind of had Justin a part of the Next G band because Justin was already 22, 23. We needed a little bit of
And how old you guys when Justin was 20? How old you guys?
Yeah, like I was a senior in high school, Caleb 7th, 8th grade.
Oh,
so we're doing shows and stuff. Like for the first time, Justin was kind of the helped organize and keep.
For those of you who don't know, Justin is the merch guy for The Green. If you've ever been to The Green merch booth, that's brother Justin.
He's been with us from pretty much the beginning.
From the gate.
From before The Green. Like, and it's like, he's one of those, you know how when you go places and there's always the homie or there's always that guy looking out for you. Like, even if you don't see him sometimes.
Exactly.
Like, he might not even be in your business or whatever, but he's just that homie. He's that homie, but he's also in the business. So it makes us feel just special to have a guy like this.
To have a guy that's passionate about your brand. Just
loves us.
Yeah, exactly.
He goes hard for us. It's kind of the foundation
there,
of what we do. You know, we need the support, and it's like we have him right there. And so that was Next G video. We look like a bunch of solid Backstreet Boys like over there. But we get teased for that video a lot because we look ridiculous. But for me,
Caleb in that video, oh my goodness.
Caleb ran the middle part like, for a long time.
You couldn't even recognize Caleb. You're like, wait, that's Caleb?
Things was wild, dude. And the music video game, you know what I mean? Back then was we had maybe $15 budget, you know what I mean? So it was a lot of creativity. But for me, it's like, looking back at that, I can laugh, but I also am like, look at that. Like,
humble beginnings.
Got to start somewhere.
You know, it's crazy. We had Feej on here, and he was talking about Manao Company really putting him on, and just, you know, how grateful he was for that opportunity.
And thank you for bringing up Feej because that man, like, you know, you see him so much and you hear him, so he does so much amazing things everywhere. He's so loving, you know, and he would say like, oh, Uncle Dan, you know, and it would just be like growing up hearing that, like, what? And then watching him, you know, like back when he was doing the 20-person entourage, like rolling through like backstage, like that guy he has so much to do with everything. Like he's like who he is, but he also is like, hey, come over here.
most humblest guy we know, because we were talking to Jay Boog as well, and everyone that we bring on the show always has a story with Feed, just how he helped them out and how he was a bit influence on their part of the career. And it goes back to Uncle Danny. Like, he was like the Simon Cowell of putting bands together. So when he put Next Generation together, he kind of knew, okay, Kayla would be here, you would be there. And then it just kind of went into the whole Green thing. How did the Green thing come about?
So it's pretty wild. So right when Micah decided, Caleb's older brother, he's like, I want to do my own thing. Like, that hit me kind of hard, because we're like, we're ready to do a second album. Like, we're making money.
Like Michael Jackson's leaving the Jackson 5. You're like, Micah.
Pretty much. Like, it was, but for me, I was like, I saw it as a hustle that was like out of nowhere almost. Uncle kind of gave us this thing, so I was a little thrown off. But at the end of the day, it was like, Micah really wanted to do that, and so that was that. And so Caleb and I were like, okay, what we're gonna do? And it was like, you know what? We just started working with Les a little bit.
Yeah.
It was like,
Shout out, Brother Les.
Brother Les. another Feed in the making.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Guy's an animal. But we were like, we should do Caleb's solo album.
Yeah. Like,
that's the move.
So that was the move at that point.
That was the move, and it was like, okay, cool. And then, we jammed with Kikes and Zion. We all would jam, and they all jammed with Next Generation with us and stuff. So it was kind of, we'll work on something too. And then Kikes and I were like, well, we should really do it. Okay, let's do it. Came up with a name, and then Caleb was like, I don't like do solo album. And I was like, for me, I'm like, I'm not gonna be trying to take. I just felt that was what I felt for Caleb.
Yeah.
And then he's like, you want to do that? I'm like,
because you felt like it was the move, and Caleb was like, probably better in a group.
Caleb's just, if you know Caleb, he like hang out.
Yeah.
He like cruise. He like, he ain't really trying to be something he not.
He doesn't want to be the center of attention.
He doesn't like it, even though he got the talent. He wants to be with the boys all the time.
Yeah.
And so that ended up being probably the biggest blessing for the Green, because if you know Caleb, he's just a powerhouse, and like, he takes so much pride in what he is and what he's trying to be. And if you knew him from Middle Park days, brother could, like, honestly, the first couple of shows he had a hard time face forward. It was him facing backwards. Like, dude,
he's so shy. Like, I've noticed it, because I tell people all the time, Caleb's voice, like, in this whole demographic that we got going on, is kind of like the sound of an angel, right? We were talking about, because he has that tone. And you've seen it early, and you kind of seen it, be like, okay, Caleb could work with someone, but when you have that, not what we call it introvert, but you're just kind of like, scared to be out there like that. You need the brothers like you, like Zion, the Kikes, but that all came about with you guys just jamming?
What came about? Like
the whole.
Yeah, pretty much. We had a studio. So here's a crazy thing, like MIDI. You guys know MIDI.
Yeah.
You're working on the software. It came out, and I forget exactly what year, but in high school, I went to Quenville High School. Got lucky that like I said, athletic director was my neighbor. I never have the 100% scores. But anyways, 9th grade, I'm walking around the performing arts, just tripping out at high school. Like, damn, this campus is massive. And I see a room with 10 computers with keyboards, and I'm like, what's that? I walk by a couple days, I don't see anyone in there. Finally, I see a teacher, and I'm like, hey, what is this? He's like, oh, it's a program that the school is experimenting and doing
still new,
research with. And so I was like, oh, how do you get in the class? He's like, you just come and I'll write you a pass. You just can't be missing like important stuff, but I can write you a pass, spend some time, a few days a week, whatever. So I ended up in there all the time, not knowing that I got to learn MIDI like the year it came out.
Oh, like before anybody was.
That was like
on
right
that.
when it came out. Like, it was just being like spread out. People were already.
That's why people don't like Kamehameha schools. Man.
Oh, it's not that guy. Plenty of other.
So your curiosity and seeing this whole MIDI just come about, that kind of just had your creative wheels.
So
going.
I had a little studio in the room. After Uncle Dan got us the album going, I had a little studio, and we always would work. And it was just like, I don't know what we're gonna do exactly, but we just kept working. Like, Brad had a solo album we did. Like,
I remember
he sings, and it's crazy. Super roots album. Like, so we just did a lot of experimenting and like figuring it out, And so as the Green kind of started coming, we already had 2-3 albums worth.
Yeah.
So it was like, once we decided, and Caleb moved over, then Zion was like, I'm down, because we wanted Zion too, but he was on the road with Pato Bantan and Mystic Roots. And once he kind of was like, I'm in.
Yeah.
Boom. It just like the songs that we had just set us up to have 2 or 3 albums out the gate that were just.
Because you had the songs already sitting in the can.
Yo, that first album, man, that thing is a classic, man.
Classic album.
That thing was done in we rented a house in Kahala Abbey. You ask anybody, we were just, for a year and a half, we were in this house in Kahala, beautiful house.
Yeah.
Just recording the album. And when these projects, like that's the essence of it. You know what I mean?
The
Like,
vibe.
what's going on.
The vibe got to be right.
And it was like a hungry time for us. And it was, we had this lady that was interested in investing, and she pulled out last minute. And we're like, what? But we already had the house.
Yeah.
She already was like, you know what? We'll figure it out later. I just don't think. And she was right. Like she was in the music biz and back in Hawaii, but she had seen what was happening. Like we had a little, you know how it is when things start going. And so she's like, I'm kind of out of. It's not really my scene. This is like tutu, like anti. Like, and we were like so ready to do it that it was kind of caught us off guard, but it did make sense. And so our friend jumped in, and this is crazy. And he took us for a ride, and we actually lost our on the first album. Yeah. But you learn and you
keep it moving.
Yeah. Trials and tribulations.
Where did the green name come from?
So we just were trying to think of something that could kind of mean something to each person on its own. Yeah. Instead of it being something like this. Yeah. It was like so a color came to mind. Like, you know, well, a color would be cool because colors don't really have. There's no real good or bad. It's just a thing you make it yours, and the green just kind of match for Hawaii and. You know, a few other little things. And
well, what were some of the names before the green came about? I know there had to be a list of say, okay, guys, we have 4 or 5 names. They have the green, and what was the other 3 or 4?
The dum-dums, the idiots.
The HK boys.
The IQ killers. The middle park bandits. There's a few in there.
So we're glad that the green came out as the winner with that. It
worked out, you know. Yeah. So just that MIDI thing, that is a big deal to me because that software is still going
today.
Yeah. And the kids, you know,
that's everything now.
Everything.
So it's huge, and like that's the future, you know.
And how did that knowledge of you knowing what the MIDI was be beneficial for the green at that time?
Well, if you know studios, like when it went from the analog days and converted into the digital days, like a lot of the guys that transitioned into that, they struggled with that. Yeah. And so it was like either they knew it and then they could work it into the system, or they had a hard time. And we worked with a couple guys that were on both sides of it, and it's very obvious that you got to have some decent knowledge of the digital side to make it all work. You know,
well, it's all about adapting with the times. We talk about like if a new software comes out, a new platform comes out, it takes some time to kind of like, you know, master what that is.
For sure.
Well, it helped having like the plugins kind of advanced too. Yeah. You know, like because before it would just be like sounds from one keyboard, but you know now you can get sounds from, you know, all different instruments.
And that's crazy how JP was like at the forefront of that whole thing. Like, hey, what are those computers and keyboards doing in there?
That's what I was thinking about, and I just had talked to some because I'm not really like I'm Hawaiian. Oh, something happened to my mic.
Oh, there you go.
Yo, hello.
Yo, you good? You good? Maybe your headphones. I think maybe.
You on there?
I can't. Oh, there.
Oh, there we go.
Sorry about that. Oh man, I forget what I was even talking about. Anyways,
we're talking about the MIDI, like the knowledge of that.
So like when I started recording, see all this how it goes down in the studio. It's like it's a long 8-hour day, you know. And then as you go, like nowadays, like what's possible, like when guys who are locked in is like, you know, us 3 will be here. Maybe I'll start a tune on this workstation, but then you'll be right there, like, and next thing you know, 3 guys working on the same song. I don't hear what you do. I don't hear what you're doing. And then you fly it over to me, and it's like, holy,
it's crazy how
1
it just
hour.
comes right. Yeah, exactly. It comes over.
And it's like, oh, let's get Homeboy on the vocals. Let's email it to them in Moscow and let him.
Yeah,
see, and that's where everyone didn't have to be in the studio anymore. Yeah. They could send that MIDI file. They could send everybody just doing it. And that's crazy because that's with everybody. You and all the other artists are using that, and that's like a common household name now, too.
So the fact that Commitment had that, I think nowadays, I'm like, dude, do they even realize like how timely that was?
But hold on, how did Commitment have
That's what I want to know.
Somebody had to
I know they're was probably the only high school that had that.
Yeah.
So I called my homegirl who works in there like 2 weeks ago. I'm like, hey, so I've been thinking about this thing. Like, I stumbled upon this thing that became my foundation for a career. I'm like, I know the school is all loaded up with performing arts as far as hula and plays and all that stuff, but where's the like recording?
So producing? At that point, there was no lane for that. You just kind of step into that on accident.
5 years after, I think it became an actual class. Wow. I talked to the guy still. I called him because I was going through this thing a couple weeks ago, and he's like, "Yeah, it's an actual class now. We try to do an album a year, whatever songs, however, you know, because it's all based on the kids and how they work." Yeah. So other than that, it's just the class. So, but what I was wondering is like, if we're such a big performing arts island school, then Institute. Where is the recording business aspect of it? Where's the growth from that MIDI program? And so my friend was tripping out. She's like, wait, So this program, so she's basically, so you're saying you stumbled upon this thing and it became, I'm like, dude, it's huge. She's like diamond in the rough type thing. I'm like,
straight up.
So what do you, where, how are we sifting through the talent we got up there?
Yeah.
You know, other than this little, hey, come experiment. She's like, what do you have in mind? I'm like, I know like 3 or 4 dudes that we could come into this place and find the guys.
Yeah.
Songwriting, producing, you know, like somebody.
Because you had the resources already. It was all the boys. Because the people that you was jamming with already, you had them in mind already.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm just thinking like for the future of the Hawaiians over there coming out, where are we looking at? You know what I mean? So it's pretty cool. I just wanted to bring that up because
absolutely.
There's an opportunity to maybe give back in a way. And
come on, you should be in a history book.
Yeah, look what it did for you. You know
that's
what
I'm saying.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. Just having that technology now, being a part of it so early, made sure that, okay, when the sound came out for when the Green was starting to do albums, how was that first album that you guys used it towards that and say, okay, we could do this with everybody that knows that has their hand in it?
Ask that again. I just got caught.
I know. I was kind of confused too. I was like,
so you having that knowledge of
right.
it, having to go into to do the first album,
right.
How did that knowledge from that kind of just make it more better for them?
It was huge because the auntie who was getting us going in the first, she's like, what is going to make this album great?
Yeah.
I was like, I want everyone together.
You're like, watch this.
I can do it in my room, and I want everyone together. I can't record drums because I wasn't there yet.
Yeah.
I just was like 1-2 track at a time. The drums, you needed, a space of all these mics. I wasn't there yet. So we went to Wendell Ching's, did the drums.
Studio One.
Wendeezy, Wendell B.
Yeah.
Shout out Longa too, because brother lived over there.
Shout out
Love
brother
you,
Longa.
Longa.
Stayed over there. Rest in peace to our brother Longa, man.
He's everywhere with us, bro. That guy's,
man.
Love that. We just had to bring, love you, bro.
And what was the first song you guys recorded?
So we recorded Love I think was the first tune. And we recorded that we actually had Capena de Lima do digital drums. He's like, I just got the Night Nurse drum samples. And he's like 12, you know what I mean? Freaking like, oh, dude, this kid, him and Caleb were, Uncle Dan had Capena play with us in Next Jeep.
Yeah.
So like Caleb and him were same age. It was like these 2 young beasts.
Yeah.
Amazon.
And like now you go visit Penn, it's like, dude, what? He's on another level, And so we used Gregory Isaac's Night Nurse drums on Love I. And so that was the first tune, and that whole project was half MIDI.
Yeah.
Before we added vocals and drums. And then it was that program was the whole project.
Yeah.
It
was a dope, humble beginning. And when did you guys kind of know, okay, this Green thing can work for you guys?
I think were you guys
already doing shows in Hawaii?
No, that first album took off, man.
That first iTunes named it Best Reggae Album of the Year.
Wow.
That year, and it was like, what? Like we were just getting introduced to this whole digital world of business and all that. And it was like, wait, what? And so that kind of helped a lot because there was a lot of things that came from that.
Yeah.
People were like, hey, I saw this. It was like a big deal to people. And it was a big deal to us too, but you know how things are, you made the cover of Forbes.
Exactly.
It's like, I did?
Yeah.
But
So-
even the radio play was crazy.
We had a lot of radio contacts, and we just we would bring, shout out Jamie Hyatt. Like Jamie Hyatt's a music lover, you know what I mean? Like, we'd bring him to the studio and be like, yo, what do you think about it? He'd just be like, I want to hear this. And next thing you know, he's like, involved in the and that's a little secret I feel like helped us just get a lot of love on the radio.
So for all you upcoming artists out there, man, make sure you guys make good with Jamie Hyatt.
It's like not just Jamie, with a lot of the radio that
radio
heard.
for sure.
Because speaking of radio, like how do you guys transition to like having social media help your careers now that everyone's not transitioning fully, but from radio towards now Spotify?
You're absolutely right.
How do you guys use that to your advantage?
Well, it's like what you guys are doing right now. Like the boys were tired. It's this and that. It's like I'm like I don't know. These guys, I like what Staffa guys are doing. Like I think it's necessary. And they want more than one guy. I'm like, I think I could bring 3 times out of them with just the fire that I feel for what you're doing. But I feel like that energy of wanting to connect is what needs to be there for this, for you guys and for the social media, for all of it to activate. You got to have that energy, like, hey,
exactly.
Not I'm better or you're.
No, exactly. And JP hit me too. He's like, bro, I got this. I was like, oh, we got it. Come on in, because I think it's definitely gonna because it's the energy.
I'm just pumped. Like right now, like we were off for 2 years. You know what I mean? Like that was a weird time. Like, are we ever gonna come back? Like, what's gonna happen? And like now to be doing these shows that it's just been like you guys know, the scene's just people are so hyped to come out.
And we're just talking about people. Speaking of that, because people are definitely wanting to get out.
Right
now, we've been 2-year hiatus. Now people are starting to get back on the road, starting to do these shows, and it's like, look, that's why we wanted to use this platform to say, look, if everybody's coming back, let's say, hey, what was they doing for these 2 years? What were they doing in this time that everyone had to be in the pandemic? Speaking of,
so I'm stoked because that 2 years was we all had I had 3 little babies right when pandemic hit. We was at home. I was like, my other half is an essential worker, so she's like, I gotta go. And so I literally went from like being bummed that I was leaving the babies to now I'm home.
Yeah, exactly.
With these guys
Daddy
all
time.
day. Oh, it's heavy, and it's like anyone who shout out to all the parents out there. It's not easy. You know what I mean? It's a grind, and we had 3 in 3 years, 3.5 years.
Oh, you were busy then.
And it was wild. But at the same time, Caleb's like, what? So what? I'm thinking, what's the move? You know, what do we? You know, and you know how some parents were in COVID. It was like no one really wanted to be around the baby. You know,
exactly.
You know, so it was like some guys were down to work, some guys weren't. Down.
It was tough when you guys are like getting back on the road, like being at Cali Roots and being amongst peers and other artists that you probably wouldn't normally work with. Does that create a vibe to you? Be like, hey, it'd be dope if we did a song with such and such.
Of course, man. Like you always want, because there's the possibilities are what are exciting. Not knowing what can happen and how big or small or something. Things happen really quickly, and like if you give it the opportunity, like sky's the limit. And
tell our people about the Coming Home album.
The Coming Home song.
Sorry.
It's called Brand New Eyes.
Brand New Eyes. That's what it was.
Yeah. So you want to hear about the song or what?
Both.
I want to hear about the song because that song got my kids playing it every time I go somewhere. I'm like, okay, guys, okay, I get it. Well,
I'm home.
What about this song?
Yeah.
Like, okay.
No, tell us about the album first.
Okay, the album first, Brand New Eyes, was just, I went to Rehab a year ago.
Yeah.
It was just, I grew up in learning things that I didn't know was the bad things, you know what I mean? And it went from thinking I was gonna be big time drug dealer to like, okay, uncles go to jail and that's not gonna be it. I'll just party then.
Yeah.
I won't go to jail, everyone's cool, I'll just party. Then that got heavy, you know what I mean? So I went to Rehab, I have daughters, I wanted to get things kind of just settled down and figured out. And my other half is she's God bless, she's such a, she taught me so much, and she's not with that, you know what I mean? So I had to figure it out. And so that kind of brought a whole new reality to my life.
Yeah.
And helped me figure things out. And I wrote a song with Kimie. We both had our first born months apart.
Yeah.
And we wrote this tune called Brand New Eyes. And it's just like through the eyes of our kid, this like new beginnings kind of vibe that kind of sparked the album. And Coming Home is the big tune off the album. And I love it for the reason that Brad, our bass player, wrote it. And he's the one guy in the band that doesn't have any kids.
Wow, that's dope.
So I feel like any other person could have tried to write this tune. It wouldn't have related to so many people because it would have been too specific to a family or whatever this guy. And Brad was writing it based off of him seeing us FaceTime all the kids. And so I love that because it just gets to, it's a peek into what it is without it being like first person told. It's like being shared by Brad.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Is epic.
Because Brad is on the outside looking in type deal for that song.
For that.
And he sees you guys on the FaceTime with the kids and the thing. Because if you guys haven't heard that song, it's so deep that artists can kind of all relate to it and be like, dude, that song right there is hard. But you, that has to be a bigger part on you because not a lot of people is going to admit they go to rehab. Not a lot of people admit they're going to party because, especially in this business that we have.
Right.
If you don't realize what the problems are, you're never going to be able to reap the benefits of what, fixing something like that. So how was that whole transition for you?
Well, for me, like I didn't realize that a lot of the things that I was getting into were wrong.
Yeah.
Like, 7th, 8th grade, like the uncles give you like, hey, don't get it from this, the dude did like this. And it was like, I felt so strong. This is like, uncle's teaching me to, so I never felt any negativity. And then when my uncle, went to jail and my cousins graduated high school and the dad wasn't home and stuff.
Yeah.
I was like, holy crap. And then uncle said, hey, don't make this mistake. Like, it's not worth it. You got other uncles saying like, I'll do it again in a heartbeat. It's like, shit. So that right there, I listened to my uncle. I was like, okay, so I stopped that, but I never felt like I was doing anything bad.
Absolutely.
Even when I got into partying, it was like, shit, let's enjoy then. And so just the fact that I had my other half who was like, because I would like get any certain 2 or 3 people text me for something, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And I would just be like, I got to run Uncle Aaron real quick.
Yep.
She's like, this is messed up.
This is exactly what I was talking about. Yeah.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
She's like, no, you're going to go grab this and it was like, I better figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
Because I think this is no problem.
Yeah. And I'm glad you said it because in Hawaiian household, Polynesian households, we are raised like that.
Yeah.
We are raised where we don't think that anything's wrong. Mm-hmm. So anything that we're doing growing up, and as an adult, now we're thinking that's like second nature. Mm-hmm. Partying is like, oh, that's what we do.
Right.
You're fortunate to have a partner that supported you like that because not a lot of people do.
For sure.
And then again, not a lot of people admit to those faults and not to those shortcomings. I see it all the time in the Polynesian community. They think these things that we're still doing today is cool. And it's not. Once you realize that this might kind of alter what you're doing for a living, that this could kind of mess you up in the long run if you don't have that support system. But I think it's to draw eyes to it, to say, look, I did rehab for a year.
Yeah.
Some people that are sitting there thinking about it right now are like, dude, that might be the route, but now it's not cool to go to rehab.
Yeah.
Now I think these kids that are watching this podcast now kind of have to say, oh, shit, JP went to rehab, so it might be cool to do that. How did that come upon you to say, was there any pressure on you saying, okay, if I go do this, am I going to go public with it, or am I just going to kind of keep this behind curtains?
Well, when the idea came to do it, it was like, I'm proud of the journey because I feel successful not making millions off of drugs.
Yeah.
I just feel successful for that. Like, because that's what I wanted so bad. But once I realized what it really was, it was like, I move on from that. So that's the foundation for everything moving forward is like, no matter what, I'm good. Like, I could be broken on welfare and all this stuff, but I'm not breaking the law, and I learned from my past. So cool. And so when it gets to going to rehab, it's like, I already made peace with myself.
Yeah.
Like, if you think I'm a scrub for it, that's whatever.
Exactly.
All good, you know? And then what I experienced being at this place just blew my mind. You know what I mean? Because now we're going like, so who hurt you the most in your childhood?
Yeah.
You're like, what? And it's the first time I'm in therapy.
Yeah.
And it's like these other dudes it was a small spot. There's only 4 people there at a time, 5 people there at a time for 1 month. But they bring in a person every week, and one person leaves every week. So it's always a moving. You always experience this person's entry, that person's exit. And so it's like you come into this place so heavy and uncomfortable. And you miss, like, I felt so dark. But when I decided to go, it was like my girl had called me a name, and it
resonated so deep with you.
Messed me up, bro. And I don't even want to say the name because I want to
already know.
Jump through the wall right now, you know?
It's always those trigger names that you call. You're like, hold up.
And she said it in front of the girls, and I was like, but she wasn't lying, you know? And so the next day I was like, is it cool because I'm going to.
Yeah.
And she was like, she's like,
shocked.
Don't get me. I was like, don't get me wrong. Like, I ain't here for the games. You know what I mean? You want to call me that?
Yeah.
Then I can go.
Especially with that, because like you talking about the therapy stuff. It's not cool to go to therapy nowadays. I've been through therapy sessions where you kind of sit with 3 or 4 people that kind of, and at first, being raised in a Polynesian household, you kind of say, okay, I want to be better story than whatever they're telling.
Right.
Then you do it once or twice, and you start to realize, hold up, this is actually going to help me. Mm-hmm. So that's why you being in a position where you're in a group, this could kind of affect others if you don't do this.
Totally.
So something for you, not just for your family, not just for the boys that are in the band, something that's going to affect everybody. You can't be selfish at that point. And I find that a lot of people are selfish and kind of say, oh, I don't need that help.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't need to go to therapy. I don't need to do this. So it's something, because I'm not going to lie, when we used to party back in the day and do the shows earlier, and then when you did rehab, I seen the difference. I seen the difference in kind of like, you kind of kept everybody together. Like say, okay, we could go hard, or we could just kind of say, hey boys, let's kind of just got to bring it back. And I think that it's a kind of domino effect.
Yeah.
Because, I've partied with Les. I've partied with all of us. And we all have that background of saying, oh, it's just partying.
Right.
But once you look at it as a thing where we're all like in this business, now there's a business side to it. Now, like if you have these bad, shortcomings that are coming up, it could affect what you do going forward.
Totally.
And I think with you admitting what you did and you kind of saying, look, I'm ready to get back on the road and do this for the family, that right there is going to resonate with so many people watching this podcast right now that I don't think you understand how much you realize that's going to help people right there. That's dope.
It's huge. And, the craziest thing about it is the first week, they keep you close to you can't really do much. You kind of just got to hang out.
Yeah.
The thing is that you got to sit with yourself, because usually when you're in a zone, you're going to run to this or that. Here, whatever you did, you accept it.
Yeah.
And that's what that first week was for. And then they let you into these sessions. But the first session I had, the girl, she had just started I guess she hasn't spoken for 2 weeks, you know? So the other guy was telling me, I knew one guy we had a mutual friend. He goes, yeah, this girl's been like really,
real mute.
But she came out.
Wow.
Hard, like my first set, and I just couldn't stop bawling because I'm in a place like, man, like second guessing myself. Like, what's going on, you know? And she was like 22 from Pittsburgh. She was like, oh yeah, it's weird sitting here because I lost my mom, dad, auntie in 3 months, and that was like my whole family. And so I don't have anyone, but I'm like sitting around this table like it's a dinner table.
Yeah.
She's like, but I don't really have a dinner table. And then she's like, I had a shotgun tied ready to go to my head, and I was gonna book my flight here or just end it.
Wow.
And and I'm just like, bro, it was so heavy to hear.
Yeah.
And I was like, I was over there crying for my daughters.
Yeah.
And then this girl don't have not a single person.
No
and
family.
She's over here on the Big Island from Pittsburgh, and she's going through this. It made me feel so. I was like, God damn.
Yeah.
Like, It's
crazy
shut up,
because
man.
if you don't realize what other people are going through, sometimes it's like you don't know everybody's story. So that's like when we go through life today, we see everybody's victories on social media. We see everybody highlighting all the highlights and the wins. There's those people that don't have those highlights and wins. Like you said, with this young lady that's 22 years old, she doesn't have family. We don't know that, but we'll be quick to judge her if she don't say nothing.
Exactly, and I already judged her.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
And that it takes instances like that to say, look, we don't know what everybody's going through. Then sometimes you want to pull your problems back after knowing what the next person been through. Like, oh shit, I ain't doing that bad. Once I hear these other stories,
that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Like I didn't even get to speak, and I was like, I was like, wow, this place is gonna crush me and change me and make me what. And the therapist is just staring at me the whole time.
Yeah,
she's going in, and I'm like, bro, like stop,
Yeah.
And then finally he was like, you carrying a lot of sadness with you? And dude, it was just like a month of that,
Yeah.
So are you completely sober?
I started burning again because when I went back on the road, it was like getting up to the tour, I was like, fuck, how is this gonna go down? Like,
well, it has to be hard because the transition. Yeah, exactly. You're back into the business.
I was talking to Kristen about it. I was like, well, I gotta be honest and true to me.
Yeah.
And my real reason for getting into rehab wasn't because I was in this dump of a place and like trashing myself.
Yeah.
It was like I was just cool with anything and everything. I didn't have any kind of threshold for what I thought I needed.
Yeah.
And so that's what I went for. And because I never really felt I had a huge problem with one thing or another. It was just, pick up a bag there, drive over, fly over there, come back over here, easy. How much it go? And I can keep part of it.
Exactly.
Whatever. You want to go out Bahamas after that for a week and just relax?
Let's do it. Yeah.
It just wasn't the mindset. And so I was like, it was hard because she was like, all of that down the drain. I was like, babe, I started this thing. Like, this is it. This is my passion. Like, I don't want to come back to it and then create these like things that I feel would kind of mess with our energy. Like, I don't want to be like, boys, no buds around me anymore.
Yeah. Well, that's what I want to ask. Now that you're back in the scene, are you like the Fight for Al now? Like, don't go with JP, been to rehab. Like, you're going to see partying. You're going to see other artists doing what they do.
Of course.
How do you kind of deal with that? Do you kind of feel like you have that responsibility to say nothing? Or you say, hey, you do what you do?
I always enjoyed, like for me, like I always wanted to have everything so I could give everyone everything. Yeah. And then I wanted to have a little bit extra. So when everyone thought it was done, we said, JP get. And so that was always what made me stoked about, like, I enjoyed partying too, but I was more stoked to party everyone out.
Exactly.
And so it was like having multiple options and one nice supply of it. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So that is like what I still feel and have when we're out partying. Like I ain't got to go get drugs, but I can buy you guys all a shot or 20. Yeah. Can you guys drink 151? I'll get you 5 of those. How's that gonna?
Stay away from this guy, man.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I don't want to battle with Cisco. I'm just saying.
Well, the reason I can resonate with it because I do come from partying, and I do have my instances where I have that, but I did my therapy like kind of like not in the public eye. And when we bring this up, I kind of like coincide with you and kind of just relate with you because it is hard. Because once we're in that spotlight, once we're in that whole thing, it's a tough fork in the road for us to say, okay, either I'm gonna go party or I'm gonna be cool. Because I went sober for like a year, no alcohol, no nothing. And that I was like the dork guy. He's the boring Cisco.
Right.
You know what I mean? And you find that out now when you party with people. I was like, nah, I did it though. So now that I'm drinking again now, but I look, okay, when I was the boring Cisco and I was now in the party Cisco, which one is really me? The older you get, you kind of say, I don't mind being the boring Cisco, only because you see these younger kids, they partying different now. Yeah. And now that you're a little bit older, like, okay, I could drink, but I can't drink how they're doing. They're going 4, 5, 6 in the morning and still going and they cheating too. Right. So that's why I say nowadays it's harder in the business that we're in. We're a little bit older now. We're a little bit more seasoned now. Now we have the responsibility to say, okay, now we're in the public eye, people knowing that you've been through what you've been through. Now it's because, okay, are you boring JP when you're on stage now? Or after the show, hey, let's go party. How do you take those offers now?
Well, like last night, you know, like we had I mean, like every night there's something, you know, and for me, like the different things that people are on is different energies, you know? If guys are drinking a couple little beers, is having a seltzer kind of vibe, then that's a vibe. These guys are killing whiskey, they're just slosh, it's another vibe. These guys are they're in the corner, making all like that, that's one vibe. They got the burners, and it's like, I'll kind of want to hang with the guys that are kind of relaxing and chilling. But the fact of the matter is, like, it is what it is. You do what you do. Like, all
I know is JP's the only one here from the band right now.
Exactly. I was about to say it. I didn't want to say it, but I'm gonna say it because when I called JP,
boys though. Shout out the boys, man.
Shout out all the boys because I said he's like all the boys. They went party last night and they're a little bit tired. I said, but JP showed up.
Yeah.
I just am empowered by what we get to do. Like, it's like I said, it feels like a second chance to just do it. And of course, I have those days where I'm like over it, but flying to Vegas, like go see the boys, like, see both guys later. Like I'm gonna do as much as I can, and God bless the Las Vegas marijuana laws. You know what I'm saying?
And it goes back to what we're talking about too. Now that the shows are going on, the whole vibe is different now.
Oh, yeah.
Now it's kind of like we're back out there. Me and Westava's been doing a few shows here and there, but it's like, dude, I told Westava, I'm just happy to be back on stage, happy to get that vibe from the crowd, and now we get to do it with you in the green. Come on, man, it got to be something different.
It's so stoked. I'm just stoked to talk about this because for you guys, like I'm fans of you guys, and I see and I know it. I was guessing it couldn't be easy to just, you know, of course you do what you do on the mic, but getting out there and being an MC, it's not an easy thing. Like it may
tell
seem
them, JP.
easy.
I try to tell these people,
I feel
man.
like what you guys do, like, is so crucial to what the live scene is. It's one of those components that you need to have, and it's like it might be something kind of second, you know, behind this, but it's not.
Yeah,
it's literally just as important as the headliner, as the ticket, as it's not. There's no real ranking, but for me, passion and doing it the way you kind of, because I saw you in the beginning. Like I thought I did.
Yeah.
And now it's like, Mom!
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's a gift.
We're taking this whole clip that JP said, we're making a clip out of this, what he said. Because we were talking about the same thing with Boog, and we're talking about what me and Westafa bring to a show. It's not like, it's not respected, I don't think, as far as it could be. But I tell them the vibe that me and Westafa know that we can bring, we always say, look, if we know it's the Green Boys, we bring a different vibe. If we know it's Boog, we know bring a different vibe. Because I think the audience kind of said they can't go from one vibe and then go straight into the green vibe. So it's real intricate what me and Westafa do. We'll say, oh, who we're going to open up or who we're going to bring it out. Okay, if it's Comic Kings, we got a different set. If it's the green, we got a different set. We did one for Maoli recently. He's like, hey, I was going to sit down, but now I got to stand up because you guys brought the vibe.
Right.
And I think it's important because
Sammy too, when we did Sammy.
We did Sammy J. So when we did
Yeah.
Sammy J, we did a whole R&B set before Sammy because we know that's the kind of music, and us as music lovers,
right,
being both DJs, we'll say, okay,
exactly,
let's do this the right way. And I don't think people see what goes into that.
And they don't need to see it, because they can act like it's no big deal, but they're benefiting off of it every time they come to a show, whether they want to recognize it or not. I remember the Distant Relatives tour, baddest thing on the planet, right? Mm-hmm. Damien and Nas, and I just found the video where I was trying to find DJ Green Lantern's
oh man
set that they did before Nas come out, because I remember being blown
shout out Green Lantern, man. That boy's dope.
He's dope, and for me, like, for you know, we're in touch with the reggae world, and you know, been to a few hip hop shows, but them raw, organic hip hop, authentic stuff, like when Green Lantern did that 5 minutes and he hit like
5 minutes is all he needed.
That's all he needed.
He hit that corners of the rap world that just rocked, but the way he spoke, it was the whole package. You know what I mean? This is an invasion.
And he did it. If you guys ever seen that set before, Nas's set, I've seen it at a few festivals too. That boy kills that thing. And that's what I think me and Westava try to do, because we don't want to just be just to anyone before anybody. We want to make sure we go into our whole thing saying, look, let's do it this type of way. But when we do a green show, we did Aloha Stadium, Bruno Mars, and just seeing you guys, when you closed out that first night, I was like, or it was the second night, but dude, seeing Hometown with Bruno, I was sitting there in awe, because I looked back, I said, this is crazy, bro.
Brother. You wasn't the only one. I think there was a bunch of us that night. It was like, whoa, like, and you know, shout out to Bruno, because you know, he's doing what he's doing. Who knows what he's doing? He's doing anything he wants, but that guy, he invited us on 2 of his hometown shows. He didn't need to. You know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
The first time, this is what's so crazy. Is like, oh, there's no guest list. You know, like Bruno doesn't do guest lists.
Yeah.
Like, what? He's just money guy. He's a business guy.
It's business.
We finished the Blaisdell show years ago, and the guys are like, all right, out.
Yeah.
And we're like, wait, what? we couldn't even stay for the show. Dude.
Exactly.
So thank God Bruno was actually hanging out. He was having like a meet and greet. I was like, yo, like we know each other from back then. I was like, homos are kicking us out. And he was like, what? Yeah. Snapped on it. Next thing you know, it was all good. Come back to the stadium. Production manager's like, hey, we really messed up with you guys last time. I was like,
we want to make it right this time.
Dude, and he allowed us and the Kings full access to the sound and light rig, which is, if you were at that show, I don't think very many things matched. I think that might have been the biggest production in that, other than Jackson. And I still think it was bigger than Jackson because that stage was like 8 stories high on that stage.
Yeah. Oh, no. And the pyrotechnics they had.
Oh, my God.
So it was a blessing. And I just feel like that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Like, you guys are doing what you're doing. We're connecting on this level, talking about the scene. But if we can pass this forward somewhere else, or we're going to go up tonight and have a show and touch someone in that way.
Yeah.
Who knows? Look where he's at. Exactly. Bruno's doing whatever the hell he wants.
Bro, that Bruno thing, I think it was so dope. Aloha Stadium,
crazy.
You had Comic Kings, you had the Green, and you had Bruno just doing his thing. Then Bruno come kick it with us backstage, give us a 1942 bottle. Me and Gustavo were fortunate about being able to bring you guys out at that show. And that show was like, dude, that was like kind of the epitome of saying, look, this is full circle especially for Hawaii. That being a homecoming show for Bruno Mars and having the Green.
And not only that, it was the last show of like 300.
Exactly.
A 3-year
of his
world
24
tour.
Karat tour.
Yeah.
That's right. And it was like the end
tour.
of it. And then you guys bringing out Bug, feeds coming out during the Comic King set. It was like, it came because you had the heavy hitters of Island Reggae along with this national superstar in
International, man.
International, yeah, absolutely.
Unreal. And that's just like, that's what hard work will get you, these opportunities that you're like, damn, I didn't ever think I'll be able to do this.
Speaking of hard work, what's next for the Green?
We're just on the road. We're trying to tour and be dads at the same time. So it's a little interesting, but I like it better.
Yeah.
It's not like months and months. We're doing like a week, 3 days, 4.
Yeah.
So we're just going to continue doing that. We're going to continue working on writing good music. We all just want to write great songs, and we want to continue doing what we're doing.
I have a question. I know you guys are with Ineffable now, and your brother, Chemo, he's you guys' manager.
Mm-hmm.
But what was the situation with the Easy Star? Are you guys still doing stuff with them? Or?
So Easy Star, like when we first got the opportunity to work with them, I think it was like 2013 or something. They wanted to be the label for the project, and then we did that. I forget which album it was. Sorry, guys, but we did like 2 or 3, and it was great. But if you know the music game, it's like CD manufacturing isn't really a thing, and so marketing is kind of the thing that you need, and I think we do a good job with that. And so we still have Easy Star on the record as a partner.
Yeah.
And it's not so much a money thing or they're investing in it. It's more so like, hey, we appreciate you guys.
Yeah.
Doing what you guys did for us, and now we're at this level, and we want to keep you guys with us. But it's not like labels is tough. Like you really got to be, a big player to have an actual label, because artists can do this by themselves. Like, you don't need too much. You can just have some passion and you can get out there. So we just appreciate everyone that's been a part of our journey and that's helped us out. And we're a family. Like we want to keep. We feel like that's the key to where we're at. It's like we work hard. We get into it sometimes, but we don't break. And we don't have the one person that's gonna punch somebody or act a fool and make the whole thing. We all just kind of keep together, and so that's what we try to do with the business and everything else.
I think it's cool how you guys have the artwork all the same. It's Kamea, right?
Yeah. We're just lucky to have Kamea's my neighbor, and like he started Powwow, which is like this huge art convention.
Huge.
Yeah. Every year, you guys should come out because they support all artists. It's a mural festival, a week long, but they bring out guys for all kinds of different reasons. So it should probably be cool to come out.
Yeah.
As they do have a music.
Just driving on the freeway and you see a painting on the side.
Everywhere you see like an apartment complex, just
they gotta stop painting over there, you guys. Stop it. Enough painting. Yeah. But Kamea started that the same year that we kind of started the Green, and so it was just kind of like, hey, you're an artist.
Yeah.
Can you help us do an album cover?
Yeah, was it kind of like a collective, like, hey, let's try to get this on there as the art?
Yeah, he was just starting to do his thing. We were just kind of like needed art. It was like my neighbor, so let's try it. And then he's just like so into his craft that as he progressed, we got to get album covers from him, and he just keeps getting more wild and more.
I mean, you got people getting those album covers tattooed on their whole like bodies now because the art aspect of it is like on a whole nother level.
He's just a really thorough painter and like loves his craft, and like so it's just a blessing, bro. When you just keep working hard at something and you just keep pushing through like the things that get to happen, and it's just you can't explain them. Like it's just cool.
Tell the people about the live animal thing, man.
So Live Animal is like basically homeboy Leslie is a family to the Green. He was a founding member of the Green. He still is.
Yeah.
But he was also a part of a band called Hot Rain.
Shout out to Hot Rain. Yeah.
Before us, so when it was kind of cool, like we put the album out. We're touring 2009 and 10, and I feel like we kind of sparked a little bit of energy between the other bands out there, because now we're like jumping out there and so Hot Rain's like, boom, they got an album coming out. And like, Les is like, I'm gonna start playing with Hot Rain. Hey, that, we get it.
The bidding war going on for Les.
Yeah, I mean, but it's cool that you make it work. It's kind of like stepdad, stepkids, this whole shit. In the beginning, maybe weird, but at the end of the day, family.
Exactly.
You become family, and so Les, he's a part of a lot of the big decisions. He's a part of everything, and so what was the question again?
No, the live animal stuff.
Yeah. So so Leslie and I really started producing things together with the Greens' first album, and we just always wanted to work and help people and just get the ideas from your mind to something.
Because you guys did Camille's first, Ellie Mac's first project, right?
We did, and so it was just that whole energy of wanting to record and produce, and we just would always end up needing a spot, either my house or his house or whatever. And then it moved into having an actual studio space. And if you know Les, the guy just doesn't turn off. The guy's just working all the time. And so we created this spot and we try to help younger people or anyone trying to do music. And that's kind of the gist of it. It's just kind of
Is producing something more you want to, you're already into it, but is that something more down the line you want to get more into?
I mean, maybe. I've produced, a few projects over the years, but I feel like it's more of who the person is and what the vibe is. And like, if we get into that, cool. I'm not so much trying to be a producer because I'm not like, if I don't like you, I don't want to fucking do it.
Yeah.
If I'm
and that's how it should be.
That's how it should be.
That's how it should be.
But I feel like if I push for being a producer, you have to be able to work with everybody. Yeah. Because if that's the level that I see I want to go to, you're going to take the payment because you're on that level and you're going to work with this artist. And it ain't going to be really your choice. And I just don't really, as much as that sounds so cool to work
with everybody, it's like, it got to be a vibe.
I like my own thing,
Yeah.
And so I think Les maybe way more in the producer lane like that, but me, I'm kind of selfish. Like I'm just like, fuck it, fuck this.
If I don't like that guy, we ain't gonna do it.
Yeah.
What are one of the venues, your favorite venues to play in? Like, is there a difference between playing at home in Hawaii and then playing in the States?
Dude, yes. So we just played. No, well, not like that. I was just saying that because last week we played Aloha Tower with Ray. And it was the first time we had a big
sold
show.
out.
It was huge. It was sick, and it was like, but we had, because the scene is roaring back, we were short 2 of our crew guys. They just got booked on other things, and you had to hustle and get your work. So we were out our 2 stage guys, and so it was crazy because Zion and I had to literally worry about the guitars and everything for ourselves while having no like real TM or like too much organization with as far as the stage. So we get there and it's just like a madhouse, and it's like, dude, how the hell are we supposed to handle our own thing? We can't even move. And it was I like that kind of energy when you have no control of it, because it's just like a blessing, to have friends and family just wasted and trying to rage with you, but you're trying to plug your guitar in and tune it.
Dude, you know what's funny? This guy almost fought somebody at Cali Roots. On stage.
Stop.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I did see that.
I wouldn't have falsed him back.
Yeah, because I seen JP was doing his thing, and then I seen him. I was like, what's going on?
You guys know how it is. I'll tell you guys about it. It's like when we do stuff, it's like it's very easy to mess with somebody if you want. Like if I wanted to go and while you guys are about to announce someone and stand in front of you and act stupid, like maybe some guys will think it's funny, but you'll probably think, hey, it's kind of weird, and I know you.
Yeah.
So what happened at that other show is. The real story is actually unreal, because our light guy, Matt, we have a daytime set, but Matt is such a wild light guy. He was working all morning on like the design of it, just because he's so passionate. And then when the homeboys were playing after us, no names, his light guy wanted to use the settings because it was all specced out.
Oh, that's right. That's
homeboy
right.
told him. Right. Homeboy told him no, because he put a lot of work into that. Whatever. That was what actually happened. But what happened for me is, next thing I know, I got 3 crew guys right in my left.
Yeah.
And if you're on stage, anyone who's coming side stage, they're trying to either tell you something or something is like, it's an important place. It's either family, friends. But these guys came and they had this vibe and
the energy was bad.
It just is like, and that's my side. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if they're looking right at me, but it felt like that. And so I kind of look over, I was like, what's going on? And they were just like, obviously like, oh, like, he's looking at us. I was like, what the, and that's just, when you're on stage and you get energized. Like, you're just in a power stand. Exactly. So it just got channeled in kind of a bad way. But I mean, I think if I hit somebody, it would have been bad.
But that just goes to show you, no matter what we're going through, don't let the old JP back come out. It will come out. It's still in there. Even though how much we've changed. But man, we appreciate you coming out here, man.
Love you guys, man.
And doing this with us because
thank you,
even the boys are taking a nap right now. But the last question I had is, does Zion ever wear shoes on stage?
No, brother. And you know what? Last night in San Diego, the stage was filthy. And I always wonder, like, what the?
Every time I see Zion, I'm like, you're not gonna put no socks on him, or something? Because with COVID and everything going on, I'm like, Zion, we gotta put something on. So he never wears
on stage. He is. So the reasoning is his
feet are huge.
Manipulates the pedals with his toes.
Oh yeah.
So like depending on certain things he needs, he'll just manipulate the levels with his toes on his pedals. And so if you wear slippers or shoes, he cannot do that.
Yeah.
It'd be a good foot fight, him and Mike Love. They would have.
I think there's multiple components to that battle too.
Yeah.
Physical, mental, spiritual.
Yeah. No, shout out Zion though, man. Is he still doing the explicit?
He's doing a podcast too.
He is. I'm so proud of him for that because it's like a podcast is like watching him do it, and then it's a commitment. It's a commitment. Like you have to get in there and do it all the time. Be consistent and this and that. And like for him, he does it by himself a lot of times. Yeah. So I did it with him. We did it with him a couple of times. And it's like I'm really proud of him for doing it because
for real,
you gotta. It's not just some easy thing,
No. So, and it's something that we wanted to do. We wanted to bring in the brothers like you guys and everybody that we had relationships with, just to kind of tell you guys a story. Like today's story was dope. With it just being you, I think a big thing that I took from it was the rehab thing for me, because it stuck out to me, because I think a lot of people watching this podcast are going through those things that we are as artists are going through, and I think that's going to resonate with a lot of people watching, man. I appreciate you for that, brother.
Automatic, man. You gotta talk to each other. Like, I've just lost the 5th friend from falling asleep and not waking up because he's just into painkillers, and it's like. I could have seen it coming, you know what I mean? Like I'm bummed, but I'm like, dude, like that wasn't a suicide, but reach out, talk to people, just
check on your friends, man.
Sometimes a check-in is save life, or just at least a day, or
for sure.
And don't hold back, like if you think a friend could need something, just hit them up.
That's what I'm talking about.
So love you, bro. Thank you guys for having me.
JP, we love you, my brother. Thank you again for coming on the Western Conference Podcast. Right. For my brother West Stopper, your boy Big Body Cisco, we will see y'all on the next Western Conference Podcast.